Hello, my friend, and welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Machbitz, and today is a solo episode of the podcast where I'm discussing 6 male personalities of modern men. So let's jump right in to number 1. Number 1 is alpha males. We've all heard this term before, but what actually is an alpha male? Well, alpha males are assertive and dominant. They often take charge in social settings, have high social status, and are charismatic leaders. There's a term that gets thrown around in a lot of dating spaces. That's high value men. A lot of what we equate with a high value man is equated to an alpha male. So usually they're the center of attention, like a CEO who can sort of effortlessly command a room. So let's actually give you some examples of alpha males in movies. Include King Leonidas, Captain America, and Thomas Shelby. These characters are strong leaders, exhibit courage, and inspire those around them, often fighting for principles or causes bigger than themselves. One key part about an alpha male is that no alpha male will ever tell you that they're an alpha male. It's like a UFC fighter telling you how good of a fighter he is, right? You don't have to tell anyone. You just show them. And now in our current society, there is an attack on masculinity. And there's phrases like toxic masculinity and telling men that we need to back down and there needs to be weak men. And that's overall bad for the fabric of our society. If our society is going to flourish at its highest level, we have to elevate women and we have to elevate men. And masculine and feminine are in each of us, but as men, we mostly predominantly have masculine energy, and females mostly predominantly have feminine energy. And if we step into those energies to the best of our ability, then we have a chance to become the best version of ourselves in greatest service to the world. So then the masculine is elevating the feminine, and the feminine is elevating the masculine. Then we work together to create a cohesive, flourishing, beautiful society. And so alpha males are what some people potentially could view as sort of toxic masculinity. But everything has the chance to become toxic. Everything has the chance to become corrupt. Everything has the chance to deteriorate through power, through greed. And so the best versions of alpha males are the ones that are expressing the healthiest version of their masculinity. There's a term that is coined warrior poet. And I love that as an expression of our healthy masculinity. Because yes, masculine energy is about a warrior. It's about a protector. It's about a provider. It's about doing the things necessary to keep yourself and the ones you love safe, whether that's providing, whether that's protection, whatever the case may be, that's the warrior inside of us. Now, these terms come from when we are fighting lots of wars. There are wars going on and men are fighting those battles. So they're expressing that warrior nature. It still happens, obviously, and is still very, very needed in today's society, as we see with what's going on, the turmoil, the fighting, all of that stuff. And so the warrior is still inside of us. It's an innate part of us. I think that's why martial arts are important. Sports are important to be able to express that competitive nature that lives inside of us. But then there also is another side of that coin, the poet. A poet can express love, can express beauty, can see love, can see beauty. And that's how we really have to express the most healthiest version of our masculinity, is to be the warrior poet. In certain situations, we can be that alpha male who steps up to the plate, who takes care of his family, who takes care of things when they need to get done, who has a set of discipline and willpower and sexual discipline. And sometimes we just got to throw some dirt on it and strap our boots up. But also being able to toe that line and know when it's time to be the poet, when to be vulnerable, when to ask for help, when to seek support or guidance, when to share love and be about love, whether it's our kids, our wife, our partners, our family. And that's really how we want to express this most healthiest version of masculinity. And so I don't like the phrase toxic masculinity because it says that all forms of masculine are toxic. So anyone who has masculine energy is therefore toxic. And that's just a bad message to young boys, to young men who are trying to get into this world and flourish and become their own man, become their own warrior poet, become their own alpha male or whatever type of male they choose to become. And so we have to use language language in a way that encourages those young men, young boys to step into their best version, to step into their healthy masculine that's disciplined, that cares for others, that cares for themselves, that is going out into the world and trying to become the best version of themselves. And there has to be encouraging language and encouraging rhetoric and encouraging people that allow our young boys and our young men to go out to society to become those warrior poets, or to become those alpha males, or to express that most healthiest version of our masculinity. And that's extremely important for the whole fabric of our society. And so there's number one. I went on a little tangent there, but completely and absolutely necessary conversation that we need to keep having, whether on this podcast or any other space that you find this sort of information. Number two, beta males. Beta males are less dominant and more agreeable and cooperative. They play a passive role in social hierarchies and crave forming relationships. A supportive colleague who willingly takes on secondary roles is a typical beta male. Characters such as Ron Weasley, Samwise Gamgee, and Bruce Banner are beta males who excel in supportive roles, right? The beta male is an extremely important supportive role in society as well. And you see through the movie character examples, how important those supportive roles are. And so these are just 6 male personalities of the modern men, and you can decide which one you are, which one you're more inclined to be, which one your personality leans more towards, and you can also see which character traits from these 6 that you want to add more into you to become a more well-rounded male. I specifically talked about alpha males, but really in that first one, I discussed alpha males, but really what I was trying to discuss was the healthiest expression of our masculinity that's helping us become the best version of ourselves in greatest service to the world. And so whatever that looks like in terms of your personality, your idiosyncratic nature, and then, sprinkling in some of these other pieces that may be additive to the whole spectrum of who you are as a person. And so then we go on to number 3, which is delta males. Delta males often go unnoticed in social settings. They are neither dominant nor submissive and are fairly average in social interactions. Their adaptability makes them reliable, but they rarely lead. Obviously, these people are important as well. You can't have too many cooks in the kitchen, but everyone can excel at their own role. An individual who follows instructions well but isn't a natural leader represents a delta male. Harry Potter, Marty McFly, and Frodo Baggins are delta males who reluctantly take on leadership roles when needed. Right? These people stepped up to the plate. Harry Potter never really wanted the role that he took, but he stepped up to the plate reluctantly and took that leadership role on. Now, there's a bunch of other things you can probably add into Harry Potter's personality traits, but here it's expressed in the delta male version. And so I've done an episode about being a great teammate, which really, I framed it in sort of a sports context, but being a great teammate applies to every domain of your life because our lives are about relationships. And if you want to build great relationships, you have to be a great teammate, whether that's in your family, your business, your sports team, doesn't matter. And one of the most important roles of being a great teammate is owning and executing your role to the best of your ability. And so there usually can't be too many cooks in the kitchen. There is a leader and there are followers, but the followers, or the people who are moving in the direction of the shared vision of the team led by the person in charge or led by the leader, the coach, the CEO, whatever it is, all of the people underneath are extremely important. And if they don't execute and own their role to the best of their ability, the machine doesn't run as smoothly. And so a delta male, an individual who follows instructions well but isn't a natural leader, represents a delta male. Their adaptability makes them reliable, but they rarely lead. So understanding what personality traits you possess can help you also put you into the right appropriate role where you can execute it to the best of your ability and you can flourish to the best of your ability. That's why it's also important to understand which personality types you lean to. Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time with his big 5 personality traits, right? He asks couples to do it and individuals to do it to understand where you lean on on the big 5 personality trait scale, open to experience, extroversion, introversion, all these things, so that you can better get to know yourself, so you can find the right partner that you mesh with. And the same here applies with understanding these male personalities, understanding who you are, what you possess, what role you can possess, where you fit best in the hierarchy, and how you can go about expressing that best version of you is wickedly important when it comes to owning and executing your role and being a great part of a system and a team that flourishes, that have a shared vision, and that moves towards making the world a better place, or whatever the mission might be. Drink. Alani Nu, let's go. Get at me, sponsor me. So now we have number 4 is gamma males. Gamma males are contrarians, often rejecting or challenging social norms. Their independent thinking sometimes makes them outsiders. A rebellious artist who struggles socially but is intelligent in other ways encapsulates this type. I'm sure you know this type of person that you grew up with, or maybe this is you, or maybe they play on your team, or they're part of your business, or they're in your family, right? Think like Tony Stark, Jack Sparrow, Han Solo, as gamma males who challenge social expectations. They're highly independent, they're intelligent, a bit rebellious, and making them stand out. I mean, that's Tony Stark and Jack Sparrow to a T. Very likable characters, sometimes do things that were like, but they fully express their authentic self. They're very independent, extremely intelligent, right? They have that rebellious nature, but usually Han Solo, Tony Stark, usually in the form of trying to do good for the world, and it makes them stand out. It makes them lovable, great characters that people want to be around and also try and emulate. That's the gamma male. And so if we're thinking like, oh, that's me, I have those personality traits. You're an independent thinker. Sometimes it makes you an outsider, especially growing up. Potentially it made you an outsider because people aren't really sure about who they are and what group they belong into or who they want to hang out with. They really just, as young people, we really just want to find a sense of belonging and a sense of community because we haven't had enough life experience to really figure out this is who I am and this is who I want to be and this is who I want to be around. And so maybe you're a young man listening or watching this and you're like, well, this is sort of how I feel. And so I'm sort of in the gamma male personality type. Well, it may make you an outsider, but understanding that if you just keep becoming who you are and showing up authentically as who you are, then your rebellious sort of nature and independent thinking is going to make you stand out and people are going to want to be around you. So don't sacrifice who you are, put a mask on for who you are. Just try to understand yourself a little bit more, a little bit deeper, and using movie examples or books or stories or characters to like, oh, that sounds a lot like me and how I think and how I want to be in the world and how I want to move. And then it allows you to sort of understand yourself a little bit better through the narratives and the stories that other people have already shared or lives that other people have already lived. So potentially that could be you as a gamma male. Number 5, omega males. Omega males are at the bottom of the social hierarchy and often lack social skills. They're typically introverted and may not lack self-confidence, but are generally unpopular. So this is an omega male. Omega males are often focused on specific interests, like someone who really prefers solitude in his hobbies, or someone who's super interested in maybe one specific thing, right? If you think like Peter Parker, Newt Scamander, and Walter Mitty are omega males who may struggle with social interactions, but are capable of extraordinary things when focused on their passions. I think that's the most important part when it comes to these omega males, right? Because, at the beginning I stated like omega males are at the bottom of the social hierarchy, but because they maybe lack social skills, right? Think Peter Parker. And like when he's Peter Parker, he is at the bottom of the social hierarchy because he lacks sort of social skills. It's hard for him to talk. He's a bit nerdy. He doesn't have really, he's very introverted, right? He lacks a bit of self-confidence, so he's generally unpopular. Some of those things are very true. But what's also true is they may struggle in social interactions, but Peter Parker, as we know, is capable of extraordinary things when focused on their passions. So what's maybe important for those of you who feel like you're an omega male, you're not less than, you're still valued and needed in this society, especially as a capable male who's expressing their healthy masculinity through your omega male personality trait. You have to find, just like anyone else in this world, you have to find what you're ultimately passionate about. What drives you, what fires you up, what gets your rocks off a little bit, because then once you find that passion, you are capable of extraordinary things. Just like Peter Parker. He finds out and he gets turned into Spider-Man. Well, of course, now he's capable of extraordinary things. He still has those traits of Peter Parker, but he possesses those extraordinary capabilities and became the person and the superhero that we all seen him flourish to be. These Spider-Man movies are incredible because Peter Parker is such a dynamic character and he does a lot of the things that we do. Like as young boys in high school, like a lot of the movies portray him as, we lack confidence. We lack the ability to speak to women. We don't know what to say. We don't know really who we are. We're feeling all these different emotions and we're going through puberty and we're trying to find our friend group and we're trying to find what we're passionate about. But ultimately knowing that if I am expressing this omega male personality traits, then I just need to understand that through experience, I will find my passion and ultimately knowing that no matter what, I'm capable of extraordinary things when I dial in and focus on that thing. I mean, and that's sort of true for anyone, right? Once you find what's really, really important to you, focusing in on that, dialing in on that, circling in on that, and really being consistent and persistent and just dialed in on it, we're capable of extraordinary things. We're capable of extraordinary things. I mean, Tom Brady talked about this in sort of his Hall of Fame acceptance speech for the New England Patriots. He's like, there's so many talented people out there. It's not talent that holds people back. It's the ability to go after something day in, day out for a long period of time. Alex Hormozi talks about it. David Goggins talks about it. Jocko Willink talks about it. All of these men talk about it who've expressed their version of healthy masculinity, their alpha male status in this world. They talk about this. The men that we aspire and look up to be, they talk about you got to be consistent and persistent and durable on the thing that you value the most, your passion. And then through that hard work, that effort, that determination, that dedication, we're all capable of extraordinary things, like the example of Peter Parker being an omega male. Then we go to the last one, sigma males. My 15-year-old baseball team won. They called me Giga Chad. Had to look that up when I got home. So I looked it up with my fiance when I got home. That was interesting. And they called me Sigma, and they call each other Sigma. Didn't know what that means. And now I do, and I'm going to explain it to you guys right here. So Sigma males, last one. Sigma males reject traditional social hierarchies and value their independence and self-reliance. They share charismatic traits with alphas, but operate outside conventional norms. A lone wolf who doesn't seek validation from others embodies this archetype. So you think three amazing characters embody this sort of Sigma male. Bruce Wayne, James Bond, and John Wick are Sigma males who operate outside traditional hierarchies. They're charismatic, self-reliant, and work alone, unfettered by societal expectations. They understand exactly who they are, and they go about their business in that way. They are Sigma males. And so there's some overlap here between Sigma and Alpha, and really when we're trying to express the healthiest version of ourselves, the healthiest masculinity that we have, the warrior poet, there are traits from all 6 of these personality types that we want to pick and choose and adopt as our own. Yeah, they're ultimately you're going to be sort of your percentage-wise, you're going to be dominated maybe by one of these male personality types, but there's no reason why you can't acquire the skills to add and sprinkle in some of these other personality traits that evolve you into the best version of yourself. You really freaking fired up about James Bond? Okay, let's try and get some of these Sigma male types that are going to allow me to be a little bit more Sigma, right? And so if you want a more Alpha, more Omega, more Gamma, whatever the case may be, let's try and do that. And so I really like the 3 Sigma ones, Bruce Wayne, James Bond, and John Wick. And so appreciate the compliment, boys. Thanks for calling me Sigma. But really, when we think about it, we got to think about who we are as a person. How can we express the best, most authentic version of ourselves? And what traits do we need to enhance to start showing up in that way, to start expressing the healthiest version of our masculinity, so we can remove this dumb bullshit thing of toxic masculinity, but we can step into our role. We can step into our role as leaders and fathers and husbands and great contributors to society, so we can start elevating men and male status while the females elevate themselves, and we can meet somewhere in the middle to have our society flourish through this union of men and women trying to be the best version of themselves. And so, look over those 6 personality traits. Think about who you are, who you want to be, what character traits you can add. You want to think about some start, stop, continue. What thing can I start doing, stop doing, and continue doing to allow you to sort of enhance yourself while after listening or watching this episode? What traits really make you feel something? Which one of these characters in the movies makes you feel something that you want to be more like? Like, there's a lot to think about when it comes to trying to express this warrior poet, trying to express the healthiest version of our masculinity in greatest service to the world. And so, in conclusion, right, let's just go over it a little bit. In conclusion, an alpha is a leader, often naturally assuming authority. Beta serves as a helper, supporting the alpha and contributing to group cohesion. A delta is average, blending into the background and fulfilling essential tasks without standing out. An omega is at the bottom, but excelling in specialized skills, but often sometimes overlooked. A sigma is a lone wolf holding a top position outside the established social hierarchy. And finally, a gamma, known as the rebel, operates outside conventional norms and questioning authority. So again, the question really is, which one are you? Which one are you? And how can you enhance yourself, express your best, and really understand who you are so you can cultivate your healthiest, best version of your own masculinity and personality, so you can mesh it all together to go out into the world, step out into the world, and go be the best version of yourself in greatest service to this world. That's what it's about. It's about digesting the information, then taking action. Think awareness, acceptance, action. You're now aware of the 6 male personalities of modern men. You accept which one you are, which one you want to be, mold that together, and then action. Go out into the world and do shit, try shit, experience shit, and see what happens, see what sticks, fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up, and keep moving forward. I believe in you. You got this. And I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see everyone next time. Cheers. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.